you should use an analog style compressor for your audiobooks. In today's video, I'm going to explain why analog style compressors are a far better fit for audiobook narration, and why you might want to start using them in your workflow if you're not already. And before we dive in, I've got something that's really helpful for you. If you're looking to improve your voice quality and get the depth, presence, and clarity that every audiobook narrator strives for, you'll want to grab my free narration EQ guide. This guide walks you through the key frequencies for narration and helps you decide when to cut or to boost certain frequencies in the areas of your voice. So just head over to thehomeaudioproject.com/EQ and download it. It's absolutely free. And trust me, it's a game changer for audio mastering. All right, now let's jump into why analog style compressors should be your go-to choice for audiobook mastering. So, what is an analog style compressor, and how does it differ from the more common visually rich compressors we typically see in every DAW? Well, the main difference is that an analog style compressor focuses more on how the audio sounds than how it looks. Instead of having detailed graphs or waveforms, these compressors usually just have a few knobs, a threshold, which, fun fact, the main one that I use doesn't even have a threshold knob. It has a fixed threshold, so it's one less thing to worry about. Then it has a ratio and makeup gain and attack and release. They also have VU meters that show you how much compression is being applied, and you can pair that with your DAW's meters to monitor the overall volume. But here's the key. Analog style compressors push you to focus on what you're hearing. They keep you grounded in the sound of your narration. When it comes to audiobook narration, the voice is everything. Unlike music production, where you're dealing with a mix of instruments, vocals, and effects, audiobooks are all about clarity, presence, and natural dynamics. Analog style compressors excel in that area. And in my humble opinion, they don't flatten or strip away the dynamics. Instead, they allow your voice to breathe. So your listeners don't just hear a polished audio file, they actually hear your performance. One of the main benefits here is that the VU meter on these compressors gives you a straightforward indication of how much compression is happening. Now, visual compressors have that as well, but on a VU meter, this allows you to keep an eye on how the dynamics are being controlled without being overwhelmed by all the detailed visual feedback. And while, yes, you do end up using your eyes to check against compression on the VU meter against your DAW's meter, that's in tandem with your ears. And once you get really good at listening for consistency in dynamics, you won't even use your eyes as much over time. Now, this is where things get interesting, at least in my opinion. When you use a visual compressor, it's really easy to get sucked into all the numbers and graphs and all of the readouts. You start focusing on all the visual elements, and that can distract you from the sonic quality of the voice and the compression. You might be tempted to make changes based on what you see rather than what you actually are hearing. Or the complete opposite can happen, and there's so much going on visually, you're left completely confused. And that can lead to over-processing, especially in audiobook production, where clarity and little nuances are key. And even though I've been doing audiobooks for a long time, trust me, I have been there. And I found that a less is more type of approach, I usually end up getting 100 times better of the results. With an analog style compressor, you don't have all of those visual distractions. You're just using your ears. You can't hide behind the visuals. It forces you to listen critically to your recording, which is exactly what you need when mastering. This helps you get a much more natural human sound without over-compressing or squashing the life out of your voice. And let's not forget about the sound. Analog-style compressors tend to introduce little subtle harmonic distortion or coloration, even in a digital-based analog-style compressor, because the developers of analog-style compressors in a DAW create them based on the physical model. It's not something that's in your face, but it's there, giving your narration a little extra warmth and character. This warmth can make a huge difference. You want the voice to feel intimate and natural, and analog-style compressors give your audio that little touch of depth that digital compressors or visual compressors, they often miss. Now, if you're a new narrator, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I don't have experience to really use a compressor effectively. And so first off, let me tell you, you're not alone. Compression can feel like a complicated topic when you're just getting started. But what I've found is analog-style compressors are actually more beginner-friendly than visual compressors because they keep things simple. Instead of giving you 15 different parameters to tweak, they focus on just a few essentials. But I want to address the doubt that you may have. You might be asking, what if I over-compress my narration and ruin the sound completely? And that's a totally valid concern, especially when you're new. Compression can feel like a delicate balance. You want to control the peaks, but not squash the life out of your voice. But here's the thing. Analog-style compressors are actually harder to overdo compared to visual ones. And that's because they're designed to work musically and naturally, meaning even if you push them a little harder, the result tends to stay smooth and pleasing.
These changes are already altering our perspective on everything from hiring to compensation to leadership. In some instances, the impact is obvious. We create open workspaces that help attract young talent. Many times, though, we're unaware of all the ramifications. How are these societal shifts affecting our teams?
So notice there, I'm compressing almost -10 dB worth of gain reduction. And while it's getting close to being blown out or distorted, we're not there yet. Now, this is a little too much compression, but the point is, you can push analog-style compressors a little harder while still maintaining that natural feel. But if you're still worried, here are some starter settings that you can try. Number one is start with gentle settings. Use a ratio like 2:1 all the way up to 8:1, depending on how dynamic your recording is. And set your threshold so that you're only compressing the loud peaks. Number two, while you're listening for consistency, watch the VU meter and aim for anywhere from 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction during the normal speaking parts and around 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction on the loudest speaking parts. This keeps your compression subtle and natural. After you set this up, take a listen. If your voice still sounds leveled out but slightly dynamic, then you're on the right track. Remember, compression is all about control, not about perfection. You're just trying to even out the peaks and valleys in your voice to make the listening experience smoother for your audience. Using an analog-style compressor isn't just about learning compression. It's about building confidence. By focusing on the sound of your voice and using a tool that's intuitive and forgiving, you'll find yourself mastering the art of audiobook production faster than you think. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, analog-style compressors are an excellent choice for mastering your audiobooks. They're simple to use, they keep you focused on the sound, and they give your voice the natural dynamics and warmth that listeners love. So that's it for now, but don't forget, if you're looking to improve your voice quality even further, grab my free narration EQ guide at thehomeaudioproject.com/EQ. It's absolutely free, and it's a great resource to pair with compression. But with that, I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in another video real soon.